We are live. We're live on Instagram. Hello, everybody. And by the way, Gabby, anybody that's here on the Zoom, if you can share in Instagram as well. We're going to be in two places at once. This is what our new life is all about. You know, we got to be everywhere. So, ready? Let's do this. Let me record. Guys on Instagram, give me a minute, okay? We're going to record here.
Recording in progress.
Hello, everybody. It's Hernan Mayol, founder and chief volunteer for Apprentice Worldwide. And today, we have a special event. And not that other events are not special, but this is extra special because we celebrate our fifth annual Workplace Horror Stories. I don't know if you know, but we've done these in the past. My buddy here, Humberto, which will introduce himself as well in a little bit, joined me last year, or the last time, which was in 2019. Because in 2020, we didn't have one because we were living a horrendous, horrible story, right? So that what took precedent. But we've done 5 of these already. And the reason we do that is because what I tell my friends, particularly the ones starting in their careers, is that it's all fun and games, right? When you are studying and before you're studying, in terms of your dreams and aspirations, right? Everybody, all of a sudden, everybody's perfect. Then you start working and realize that things are not that perfect, right? So we are here to share our stories about things that are not that perfect at work. And then we're going to give advice to people on how we dealt with the situation and maybe about how to avoid these mistakes. I tell my friends that Professor Mistake is the one that gives the best lessons, right? And if you don't, when you hear these stories, right, some of them self-inflicted, horrendous stories that we did ourselves, but some of them that are not, not our fault. And sometimes we're so enamored and in love with the brands, right? We work for major global companies, right? Google, Facebook, now Meta, right? You probably saw the announcement that Facebook changed the name to Meta. So, yeah, that happened today. So, Meta, la metida de pata que I do all the time, sometimes. So it's fitting. It's because sometimes we get enamored with the brands and we forget that in business, it's all about the people, right? The brands are beautiful, but the people are the ones that make our experience better. So let's talk about that, okay? But before we do, I want to tell you about a couple of things that we have in Apprentice Worldwide. By the way, did you know that we do events every single month, online or in person? And did you know that Hernan Mayol is not the only one that does events? There are people all over the world that get together. So Rosa Maria is our representative in Mexico. She's going to be joining us as well. And she does events over there with the team. Gabby is still in Europe. And she was in Argentina before. She's from Argentina, but she is in Europe. And she takes care of our Europe things from time to time, right? And then we have people all over Latin America, all over the United States getting together and sharing stories and just helping each other out, right? Which is what this is all about. But we'll talk about company culture in a little bit. Before that, I want to remind people, next week we have a very, it's a hard event because we're going to talk about cancer. But what we're really going to focus in that event is how to, maintain your level of engagement at work while going through difficult situations in your personal life, like cancer. Maybe the people that we're going to have next week, their family members suffer cancer, and they are going to share how they survive and how they kept on going, and what advice they'll give to people. But another horrendous situation that we cannot control. But today we're going to talk about our stories, some fun stories, so not that fun. But last thing I want to tell you is that in the month of November we'll be doing some more expansion and recruiting. If you have people that are interested in joining Apprentice Worldwide. We try to do this every 2 months because it's growing so much that we have to group the orientations. We've been getting more formal with time. This is our 6th year, right? Gonna be our 7th year in February. Sorry. Hold on a second. Okay, everybody, put yourselves on mute unless I call you, okay? So that we avoid the feedback from the phones. I lost my train of thought. So I was telling you about our 7th anniversary. And before I forget, we are celebrating our international convention in Puerto Rico. And I see a few here that are attending, right? This guy over here might be joining us as well. And that is February 19th.
President's Day weekend.
President's Day weekend. And we're going to have an executive retreat in Puerto Rico. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to start our discussion by introducing each one of the speakers. And then I'm going to have some questions for you regarding your situation and what I know about you, okay? This is important. We are recording this, but we will not be sharing this recording with everybody, okay? We were going to keep it under lock and key, and if we're going to share it with the public, we will edit it before. You have to trust me on this one, okay? So most of these horrendous stories, we don't want them to go in the public, but we record them because what we do is the people in our team, we might be able to share some knowledge by showing them some video clips, okay? The same thing with our Facebook Live. You're gonna see it today, but tomorrow we're going to delete this recording so you won't see it anymore, okay? With that being said, let's start with the people in the room. So, Humberto.
Yes, how you doing? Humberto Maran. I work for an organization called SCCF, which is Structured Corporate and Commodity Finance, and Horizon Capital. It's a hedge fund. We focus on trade finance, and that's my focus. I'm the managing director here in North America, and I'm here to share some of my corporate experiences. I guess that's generally where I had my horror stories. I work for this organization by the name of Cargill. It's a pretty big company, even though most people haven't heard of them. Interesting corporate culture, very good corporate culture actually. But like in every corporate culture, there's horror stories that are interesting for everybody to know, especially the young folks.
Excellent. And Humberto lives here in Miami, so we're in Miami.
Yes.
Okay. But we have people all over, and we'll go to the next in the room. So Rosa Maria, one of my best friends, unfortunately, we don't see each other that often, but she lives in Mexico, but she's in my heart, and we share this this organization together, helping the next generation, including Valeria, who was part of our team, of our staff, and that was super cool as well. Rosa Maria, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm Rosa Maria Luengas. I work as an international banker for 32 years, and I'm currently working at another institution. I work for First Bancomer and then BBVA, which was an interesting change, moving from the largest local organization to a large global bank, and the culture indeed changed a lot. But most of my horror stories refer to things that can happen to anyone. So I will be very glad to share that with you. And if you have any questions or you want me to, usually I share stories about feminism or about things that happen at work. But today I'm going to try something different to see that I'm not only the feminist in the group.
And we'll talk about that as well. So every topic is open field in this Zoom.
I like to interrupt really quick. I learned something the other day from, probably dear to Rosa Maria. I learned the definition of feminism. It is people who are want equal rights for all women. So I'm a feminist.
By the way, so you did see that our logo has been pink for the month of October. not only are we supporting women, which we have an organized women leaders team, which we don't have one for the guys, so they one up you there.
We're not allowed.
No, we're not. I'm allowed, but I shut up because Hidalmis is in charge. But you know,
And you shouldn't be, Hernan. You shouldn't be.
I should not be.
Part of that group.
But who's gonna
Yeah.
market our events in general, right? So, by the way, I will. I don't mind if you guys do your own separate group as well of executive. You can discuss it in your board meetings as well. I don't have to be there. But
Okay.
that one, I need to market things to that group as well, right? What we're doing and,
Okay.
and when I need advice. So, I agree with you, Rosa Maria.
Okay.
By the way, I can remove myself and just point you as the marketing director for the group. And every time I share something, you can share. No, you said no. Okay, fine. And anyway, next up we have Nalisa.
Hi, how are you? I am Nalisa Sati, and I met Hernan when I was the Business and Communications Proposal Manager for Bank of America Merrill Lynch for Latin America and the Caribbean. And that was when I was in the private sector. I worked for banking specifically, and then I went to commercial real estate with Newmark Grubb Knight Frank, and then luxury residential real estate, and then I left the private sector entirely and went into the not-for-profit sector. And I was the founding program director of the Miami-Dade Urban Debate League, which extends policy debate access to inner-city youth throughout Miami-Dade County. So it was an amazing experience to connect different colleges and partners with these students. And then I founded Superhero Leadership Academy, which is a nonprofit organization, and it's pretty simple. Knowledge is power. I'm very excited to be working with Hernan and Apprentice Worldwide to really extend these experiences to the rest of the youth out there, right?
By the way, Nalisa is a great leader. She, like she said, I recognize her leadership abilities early on in her career, and I tried to give her some good advice on how to deal with situations that were not that easy, right? And you know, she when I thought about some of these topics, I remember you know, Nalisa coming into my office and saying, "Hernan, I need help." And that's what we're here for. And
Right, about mistakes being the experience. You only learn through your mistakes, but he was kind enough to like tell me before I made the mistakes, this is how you do it. And that's very hard to do in banking. You were like so busy doing everything you were doing. So thank you for that, you know, paying it forward.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, last but definitely not least, Mr. Ignacio Rivera. I know that guy. You're on mute.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody.
Ahora sí.
Did you want us to start with our horror stories, or
No,
or
not
we
yet.
only know-
Just introduce
Not yet,
yourself.
okay. Just introduce. Okay. So my name is Ignacio Rivera. I've been with Hernan in this journey with Apprentice since the beginning. Hernan and I met in college and have been friends for, we'll say, a couple of decades. I've been in the different roles across different companies, primarily sales and marketing, but I've had a couple of roles as well in finance, and currently I work for Ryder, and I head up the data governance practice, which is part of the Chief Data Officers organization. And again, I enjoy being part of this organization, and I think we help the young adults in the organization, but they also help us. We learn a lot from you guys as well, and it is pretty interesting how often we learn more from them than we teach. So thank you.
Yeah, and I always remind people that we are a network, right? But it's a network of people that want to help each other out, right? This is the number one thing, and help each other out. It doesn't matter if you're a mentor, an associate, and networking. Anybody with a big heart, you know, has a place in our organization, and we find a spot for them if they want to help out. Yes, we focus more on career development and we definitely focus more on helping young professionals, right? It's not that I don't help Humberto, I don't help Rosa Maria, but this is the focus of this organization is to help young professionals succeed and become, stable, mature, and have it's never gonna be perfect, but we give them a solid ground to stand on when they feel a little shaky, right? And we're here for them, like many people were there for us. So we're just giving back to this community. We have other important people in the team members. Sandra, I saw Sandra there. Do you want to introduce yourself? If you're Sandra's there.
Yeah. Oh God. Hold on. To get to another.
Sandra is a working mom with like many here. So she's trying. I see you sideways.
We can't hear her either.
And you're on mute.
There you
There we go. Almost there.
Okay, there. Sorry, guys. So there. Sorry. There. Okay, you can hear me and see me. Awesome. So hi. So I think I've known you for I don't even know, like 30, over 30, a lot of years. Way too many. And then I moved to Orlando. So if anybody ever wants to come to Orlando, we haven't been doing that many events here, but then we hope to do more.
That's right. And Sandra was the first one that told me, if we do something in Orlando, I want to get involved. I have a big network of people, particularly she was the president of the National Hispanic MBAs, which is now Prospanica, and she's the president emeritus. She also worked for a few Fortune 500s like you guys and global companies. So great advice. She always gives great advice. And she's referred a bunch of people to us that remain as mentors and lovely time. Thank you, Sandra. Okay.
Thank you, guys. Nice meeting everybody.
Stephanie or Clevy, I see you. Do you want to say hi, introduce yourself? This is the chance. Ta-da! By the way, hold on. Drum roll, please. Yesterday she started her new job, right?
Well, on the 15th, yeah, but I'm in transition. Thank
We're
you.
celebrating. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So my name is Stephanie Gutierrez, and I've known Hernan since 2016 from our fraternity, Alpha Kappa Psi. He was my advisor at that time, and I was on the executive board, and I was introduced to Apprentice Worldwide, and since then I've always loved being connected, learned from so many mentors, and like Hernan just mentioned, I'm transitioning now from nonprofit to the marketing industry, so I'm really thrilled with my new role, creative marketing, so thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And you're awesome. Thank you. All right, and by the way, we did an event where we supported the Mexican American Council, which is where she worked for a while, and we're very happy. They usually do events in Cinco de Mayo, so although Mexicans they always complain that we think that's Independence Day, but but at least we use that to support Mexicans that are in the U.S. that need a little helping hand, and Stephanie and her family have been very involved with that organization, and we support them when we can. Thank you, Stephanie. Next, Mr. Clevy, my brother, you there?
I'm here.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, let me turn my video on. Still at the office. You guys see me?
There
Hi,
he
everyone.
is.
I'm Clevy. I met Hernan when I was also a brother in Alpha Kappa Psi. I think, like 2013. I think I was as a freshman, and yeah, he's helped me out with mentorship and helping me out in advice through my career. Helped me become a chapter advisor for AKSI now, and actually introduced me to the recruiter that got me the job. Yeah, so very thankful for Hernan.
I'm thankful for you, brother. You bring a lot to my life as well. So thank you. Excellent. By the way, we keep people don't believe me, but we have a lot of brothers. So we introduced Ignacio as a brother of AKSI, Clevy, Stephanie, and we keep going. Then now we have Gonzalo and Alexandra. So ladies first. Alex, you want to say something?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you, because Hernan has always been my mentor since I was like a sophomore. And I have been all over the place a lot of times and have very high goals, and he has always pushed me to be a better version of myself. So thank you for always supporting me. Right now I am directing a nonprofit organization that helps individuals with autism pretty much succeed in whatever path they choose to take. Our organization is called Awesome Foundation, and we are a startup nonprofit. So we just started working on it around 6 months ago, and it's really starting to pick up because it's a very new industry. So, there's a lot of events going on. There is an event on the 23rd of November if anyone wants to participate. It's going to be like a Thanksgiving luncheon, and we're going to have an auction for anybody who wants to participate and help fundraise. Great opportunities. And yeah, there is also an event that's really amazing that we're going to give out toys and other type of help to families on December 17th. If you wish to participate in that, is open to the public, and I will be posting on that on the chat. And yeah, thank you so much.
Now that is really awesome, just like your organization. By the way, she's recently married also to an AKSI brother, Glader, who's also serving in this organization, and he's going to talk about the organization through another channel. So he couldn't join us because he's giving a speech at another place as well. But we'll get a chance to hang out soon, smoke cigars or something. Not that I do that, All right. Last but not least, at least in this room, we have Gonzalo, who's now, I think he's in Medellin now, no?
Hey, Hernan, let me turn on the camera real quick. Their careers through what we call conversation. So very interesting times. We started during the pandemic, full time, and it exploded there. And right now, like Hernan said, I'm in between Toronto and Medellin, scaling the company. We went down there earlier this year. We're finding the place very interesting. Great talent, bilingual talent. Single idea of help in you and I, very devoted to AKSI, and not just AKSI, I love what I do. I get a hell of a kick out of it. We've helped clients get into Amazon, PIMCO, Facebook, all these places, and
there you're opening yourself up and your life. He was also a reform banker himself.
Oh yeah.
So he
investment banker, yeah.
I wouldn't say that bankers are boring, because I was never boring, but I'm sure that you're having more fun now than when you were in the bank. Different.
Well, I'll tell you this, Hernan, it's totally different, two different worlds. It's each phase in life has its own beauty, right? So I had quite a blast, and I learned quite a ton in investment bank in Santander, especially when I became the head of the internal control department at such an early age. That was huge shoes to fill. I don't know how I survived that, to be honest, but I did. I'm still here. So, and
Yeah, you should see what we just
by the
did.
way, too bad we didn't see each other. We couldn't see each other in Miami. It just didn't
By the way,
happen.
this technical hack that my buddy here just created,
It's some Cuban stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's some Cuban stuff, right?
It's Cubano. Hacer
Only in Cuba do they do that, right?
well,
So,
all right, and I found, so there's somebody in an iPad that joined. Do you want to introduce yourself, iPad, or? iPad Christian. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I just got off. Just had my last meeting. I joined, but it's just, I guess I wasn't working on my phone. I couldn't hear you guys, so I switched over to my iPad.
So you have a chance now to introduce yourself, what you do, who you are. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you for putting me on the spot. But no, it's a great meeting everybody. As Hernan just said, my name is Christian. I work as an associate consultant for IBM Financial Services under their insurance practice. And when I'm not working, I love collecting a whole bunch of different things, whether that be trading cards, whether that be certain types of shoes, soccer jerseys. Yeah, it's great to meet everybody.
NFTs?
Not yet. Getting there.
Oh man, I got some meta stock if you want. Excellent. All right, so big ballers, people with a lot of experience and rookies. We got it all over the place. Everybody with great ambitions in life. So today we're going to share our stories for that reason, to ensure that we can help each other learn a little bit about our experiences. So, since it's Halloween very soon, I brought my mask, and I'll be sharing some of my masks. But today I want to talk about these masks that we use, particularly at work. So I want to talk first, if anybody wants to talk about probably bad bosses. Have you ever had a bad boss in your life? If
I'm first, Hernan.
Okay.
I'm first, please.
I'll let you go, and then I'll share my story about a bad boss. By the way, without mentioning names.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
You guys want to hear not just a bad boss, but a great story, and I hope this finds of inspiration to some people, especially the younger ones, because when this happened to me, I didn't know what the heck was going on, and I sure had the fortune of having someone by my side, a mentor that helped me out of this one. You guys want to hear about it?
Shoot.
Yeah.
You're so.
Can I hear some more yeses?
It's all about.
There you go. I see Ignacio's giving me his heads up. I think Nalisa is actually smiling, so that's a yes, right?
Yes.
iPad guy, there you go. That's sort of the engagement. Hey, Vale, how about you? Yes, she's saying yes, but she's muted, so we'll take that as a yes.
I'm not Vale, I'm Jose Maria. But since Vale sequestered my computer, everything has to name on it.
I do that with my brother's Netflix. So anyway, back in the day, started as the head of internal control at a big investment bank. You probably can see that on LinkedIn. I was reporting to CFO, right? And, it was a very tricky position because it basically was about calling people out for a lot of things, right? So we stood sort of in the middle, in between the whole operation of the bank, 11 different divisions with very powerful people. And then the third line of defense, so that was first line and second line. Third line of defense was the internal audit team. So I sent out an email that my boss told me to send, copying certain people, ouch. And since I was 27, 28 at the time, one of the youngest, I think the youngest heads of departments, I sent that email out without really thinking that my boss would have my back, basically, right? What I didn't know is that I was sending a missile, basically. Like, as they called it back then, it's like real, true missile. Head of internal control, copied, CRO, Chief Risk Officer, copied, the type of guy that shows up in newspapers. Okay? So I sent this whole thing out, calling out people on things that they were doing wrong. And since, I have this sort of good feel, I come from a military family, so I believe in honor and doing things right all the time. I said, well, what I'm sending out here is actually inherently good. Everything's true. Everything has to be enforced. So I sent it out. This was a Thursday night, just like tonight. Come Friday, how Fridays are a little slower. I have an intern on my side, kind of like, sort of embarrassed guy, but I like to bring him up. He really liked rifles for some reason, so we talked about rifles all the time, and I didn't feel, like he could talk about something. So his name was X. And suddenly at about 9 a.m., the chief risk officer of the entire bank comes in, guns blazing. He comes to my corner, he points at me, and he says, Gustavo, not Gonzalo, Gustavo, come here. At this point, I'm so used to this type of stuff that I don't even get, scared. So I look at the intern, with this guy, right, the intern. I'm like, okay, let's see what this guy wants, Gustavo. So I stand up, and he walks to my boss, who was the CFO, right? Here we have the CRO and the CFO together. And he starts screaming, but screaming like you've never seen before, in front of about 35 people in close proximity. Why the hell did you send that email? Who do you think you are? Like this. Who do you think you are? You think you have the entitlement to send out that email? I was the head of internal control, but they had some issues in between operational risk and finance. They couldn't make up their mind with the title of my position. So he said, you're not the head of internal control. You're the head of internal control of the SOX program. Just flipping on me. And I was waiting for my boss to stop him. Hey, wait a second. I told him to send this email. But guess what, guys? Can somebody guess what my boss did?
Gave you the pink slip.
He fired you.
You are the
Nalisa, yeah.
Under the bus.
Pretty much. When you go like in the movies, the bus goes like this, like plunk, plunk.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a dead body. And that was me. So now you have to remember one quick thing. At that point, I've been doing martial arts all my life, right? I don't want to sound cocky or condescending, but it's true. Like coming from a military family, my dad always led me into judo, karate, like jeet kune do, all this stuff. And by the way, these guys are pretty short. Pretty short. And when I'm saying short, I'm saying like 5'3". I'm 6 foot, right? So this guy's like blazing, and when I see my boss not doing anything, I pull out my hand at him like this. I tell him, hey, let's say this guy's name is, Gerardo. Hey, Gerardo. Okay, I got the message. I was shaking a little bit because remember, this guy reported to the president of the entire bank. Like, I was shaking. I'm like, hey, Gerardo. Okay, I got the message. Sorry about that. It won't happen again, but stop. The guy calmed down. He lowered his voice, blah, 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 blacked me out a little bit. And he left. So here was my ruined weekend. I had plans, beautiful plans, but guess what? I'm like, shit, I'm going to get fired. Excuse my language, but it was a very solid situation. So I called my mentor, my brother, a beast, especially in the situation. So I'm like, Diego, his name is Diego, I can say this one out loud. What the hell do I do? I might not have a job on Monday. So he told me what to do, and I went and did it. Now, anybody, I won't take more than one more or 2 minutes, Hernan. Anybody knows what did I do? Can anybody guess what I did on Monday?
Resigned.
No, you document what you did. In case
I like
you have it someplace.
I think you resigned and explained, why the amicable resignation and everything. And then it is documented and it's on record. And it was your choice as opposed to you being fired. You took control.
You guys know why after hours and hours of calls every day and being totally destroyed after training and running 5 kilometers today, why I get on this call? Just because of this.
Yeah.
Because I like to surround myself with really freaking smart people, and that's what I'm doing right now. So no, let me tell you guys what I did, okay? You guys ready?
Yeah.
You guys don't expect this one. I didn't expect it either. I was scared to death. But my brother, like, for the life of you, you better do this, or you won't call me brother again. Okay. Remember, military family. We're supposed to not be scared. So Monday, woke up. I armed myself with Valor. Took a heck of a coffee. I took my shakes out. I ran, and then I went to the bank. And I went to the third floor. And I went to this guy's office. Click, click, click. I knocked on the door. I went in there. And I said, hey, Gerardo, do you have a minute? Oh, yeah, come on through. You know, all this like hypocrisy and fakeness, like nothing happened on Friday, right? Let alone this person is like a cocaine addict. You know, he came through at some point and, believe it or not, offered me a trio, me and another girl from the office in a company party on Friday, and along, etc. Okay? So those are tools we were using. Those are things that we were thinking about when strategizing through the entire weekend. And then I knocked on the door. I went in and I said, you have a minute? I said, yeah, sure, come on in. So I closed the door and he's like, what do you need? I was like, just wanted to come here and tell you one quick thing. I won't take long. I want to tell you, you know, you remember what happened Friday? Yeah. What's going on? What's up? I was like, and I told him literally these words. Let that be the last time you speak to me like that, with my finger like that, okay? And he's like, he didn't expect it, so he's like shocked. And then he came back into his cocky CRO mask, being Halloween, right? And I said, or what? And I told him, there's no or what. And then I asserted, and I said, it is the last time you talk to me like that. Turn around, slammed the hell out of the door, and left. And then I was ready to get fired. I was so ready. I didn't give one hell of a, I just didn't give a.
It's better to get fired and collect unemployment and move on.
No, you know what happened?
What happened?
You want to know what happened? Because I stayed in the bank for over 2 years. He never was able to make eye contact with me again. That's what happened. Yeah. And let me tell you, Nalisa, do you know what the feeling is of having a CRO being scared of you? Much better than a paycheck. It is the reason why I'm doing and I'm living the life of my dreams today. It's that bump that pushed me to go to the end, build my own team, kill it in that job whenever I was ready, put in my resignation. There's more to like the story of like it's insane stories I went through, but it's what pushed me to move to Canada, you know, with no paycheck and all these things. Is that those guts, that tough skin I built there. Like sometimes you have to, you know, and to push through so many difficult and hard times I'm going through. But each time you go through them, you elevate. You elevate.
Yeah.
You elevate. And it's insane. So that's my horror story, guys. I hope you sleep tonight. You don't have bad dreams tonight.
Que sea la última vez.
Exacto.
Que sea la última vez.
Guys, es la última vez que me hablas así. Me faltó decirle otra palabra, pero esa me la voy a guardar.
Excellent. I like the strength and valor that you had. You know, like the you weren't a cowardly lion. You were a strong lion. But...
The 7 days after, man, let me tell you, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I was really waiting for my boss to come to me and say, "Hey, listen."
By the way, I have so that's two stories. That's a bad boss, right, and a backstabbing boss, right. So it's really because you have backstabbers all over the place, but bad boss, backstabber boss. So anybody else? So. My story is not as bad as that. My story is you know, I was at a bank that big egos like the Wolf of Wall Street type egos. They were multimillionaire types, right? And they unfortunately they were all sleeping with the secretaries. And my boss was married with 2 kids, and his executive meetings. That he decided that he wasn't going to have at the office, he had them at strip joints. So I was a young guy, started in my career. I thought it was funny the first day, the first time.
You were working in Mexico, right?
No,
you wasn't working in Mexico
because
there were a couple of contracts that I couldn't sign because they were signed at strip clubs.
Well, I went to that place, and the thing is, he was hitting on the.
But this was Thunder from Down Under in Vegas, though. This wasn't your normal strip club.
Well, the point is that these are corporate executive meetings, and of course, I ended up leaving the bank for many reasons, including the fact that I didn't want to partake in this activity. So, anybody else wants to share their story about a bad boss? Yes, Nalisa.
Yes, you were part of this whole experience with me. It's a hilarious story. One of my first, it was very close right after college, and I was hired in this position that never existed before, and I was told to create a proposal database, like internet worldwide, in multiple languages, for banking, cash management, business, and treasury, essentially. So I had to do this whole process, and nobody gave me the roles and responsibilities or what occurred, and in the process, I was basically, you have to communicate with different regions and different people to get answers solved. And I had no idea that finance was so almost a very hostile, extremely competitive, not collaborative environment and working place. And I had began there, and I was and everything was going extremely well. We had answered a bunch of proposals in the process of doing this, and I was working nonstop to do this all together. And I was put under a boss who was a manager at the time, but I had no idea why I was put under her, because there was no relationship with our duties or responsibilities. It was almost like there was oversight. I ended up saving almost millions of dollars because I found out they bought a license in North America that they were not using for translations. And a month before I was fired, I was given a probation, and I was really confused as to why. But I walked into my manager's office, and I was given a probationary period, and then 1 month later, and I realized that the relationship was completely started to change. At the very beginning, she was very supportive and excited, like she found this talent and she's under me, and this is all, and I was really happy to have somebody to help me and guide me. And little by little, I noticed she was distancing herself more, and then when she gave me that probationary period, I was actually fired, and she handed me a letter. And she told me that you are being let go for not paying attention to detail. Paying attention to detail. So I thanked her very much for her time and experience. And at that point, it was 2010. And I thanked her very much for that time and experience. And I took that letter and I walked straight into the head of Latin America's office. And I said, I am being let go for not paying attention to detail. And I have just been handed this letter that says that I'm to be employed until last year, because it's dated until 2010 is when it said, I said, I'm going to collect. I've been working for the bank for this time period. And I just wanted to know from you, do you know why I am being let go? Because I think I put in all of my efforts, and it was a very high learning curve, and I just need to understand. If I don't understand and learn from this experience, I'm not going to be able to move forward. And it was the most hilarious situation, because the head of Latin America started freaking out. He's like, he sees this letter that says, you are supposed to continue. A year passed, right? Because she didn't read and pay attention to detail herself. He called her to come back onto the site because she had left for the day to take care of her children or something. She came back to the site, changed that letter for employment termination, and actually printed out a new copy to then provide me and help me carry all of my belongings to my vehicle. The head of Latin America told me, you are going to do great things in the future. You have all of this exciting stuff for you. I'm sure that everything's going to go well for you, but what can I do? What can I do when the person that's helping me do all of this is not able to work with you, right, at the end of the day? And he offered references for the future and was extremely really kind about the whole situation. And then so she helped me carry all of my belongings. I thanked them for the experience, and I walked to the car. And the last thing that this woman told me as she put my things in my trunk is, it's not about you. I'm so sorry. This is not about you. And I'm thinking in my head, that means that it's about you. Like, are you kidding me? This is absurd. Like, right? Like, okay, fabulous. So then I'm later on speaking to HR because I think that this is absurd. Like, this is, I don't want anybody else to go through this kind of experience. It was an extremely stressful time period of my life. The HR people told me that I should have told them ahead of time and that they had no idea what she meant, that this was not her experience, like that this was not about me, because that doesn't make sense to the HR people. They're like, that's very strange, right? Because it's not about you, then it's a problem, right? So, and I just thank them and I just move forward. And like, I was thinking in my mind is that it's what I learned from that experience is that you have to really increase communications from the very beginning to truly understand what the root of the problem is before you don't have an option to do that in the future, because once a relationship goes sour, it's almost impossible to rectify that relationship. I think that was the biggest learning experience, and I was so hurt by that, and I kept asking Hernan, I was like, what do I do from this? And what was the advice that you gave me, Hernan? What did you say?
So I would normally say, pray for them because they don't know what the heck they're doing, number one. And number two, I told you that HR, I remember, HR does not work for you. Yeah. HR works for the corporation and trying to avoid the corporation getting sued. So yes, the answer is, when you notice that these things were happening, you had a time to remedy. At the end, hard to remedy that situation. It's just, there's no, and they already have ways to, this is an at-will employment situation. They can fire you any day, you can quit any day. You can't sue them for that, so.
But yeah. I realized I'm the only one, so it was a huge layoff time period. So like, it was at the time where they laid off like huge amounts of people at the time. And then that's what I learned, like you cannot control. It's a massive multinational corporation. That's a global company in multiple regions, right? And you are just a number as an employee, and the culture was very much like competing. The treasury officers were like fighting with each other. It's like, why aren't you all work for the same company? And also the mergers, that's the other thing. So Bank of America merged with Merrill Lynch at the time. So I'm entering the world of, it's crazy, remember that?
Yeah, it's, many lessons
we
to
all
learn.
Remember that.
Many lessons to learn there. It happened to me, by the way, when I got fired in 2017. As somebody with a smiley face backstabbed me really, really bad, to the point that like Gonzalo, the guy changed his tune all of a sudden, and he was stealing clients from another division just to say that he was doing better. And I called him out. I always, ethics is my number one thing. If you're unethical, I don't deal with you whatsoever. And I find my way of getting rid of that situation. That's a lesson that you guys also hope that you learn. Surround yourself with good people, but do not accept unethical behavior. And if you're involved around, remove yourself immediately from that situation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would just say that another learning from tying all of those three stories together that I always tell young folks, I didn't realize till I was late in my 30s, I mean, I'm 47 now, is that remember that you are, people say I'm not an entrepreneur or you're not an entrepreneur because you're an officer at a bank, or because you are working at a specific company doing the role that you work, you're an accountant, you're whatever you are, right? The fact is that you are an entrepreneur. You're your own, you're running the business of you, okay? You're running, Gonzalo's running the business of Gonzalo. Nalisa's running the business of Nalisa. Humberto's running the business of Humberto. Hernan's running the business of Hernan. And at the time, we happened to be providing our services to Bank of America, to Wells Fargo, to Cargill, to whoever is it that we're working in. And a lot of these organizations, out of the control, out of your control, and out of sometimes their control, they have to do things to manage their business, right? So that was something I learned, because when I was hired, I'm a very loyal person, and when I was hired as a, hey, when you come work for my organization, this is a lifelong job. Okay, and we're lifelong career. We're gonna give you different opportunities within this organization that you're gonna enjoy the career here. And as a naive, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, I accepted that, right? And that's fair, right? And I never got to, really have the things that you guys seem to have relative to, being what seems like improperly let go and things like that. But I never really ran my business of Humberto Maran like I should have managed it as a business. So remember, you're your own business, right? So if you're 21, 22, 23 years old, right, you're your own business. You just so happen to be providing your services to wherever you're providing it to do that day. That's it, right? And think of tomorrow the way tomorrow should be. Think of your long-term goals as your long-term goals, and do everything you need to do to get to those long-term goals, just like you would in a business. Same exact way.
I think what you said is really, really important, because I think a lot of people create value for their jobs for themselves. Like, a lot of people put all of their value on who they are based on the job or the role that they have. And that's a really, really big mistake, because most jobs, like, title does not determine who you are or what you do for that company. And I think most of the titles that are given are almost made to like hurt or not empower the person. So there was some advice given to me because you feel really hurt. Like, it could really affect your confidence if you're let go or fired or removed from a position. What reminded me of what you just said is the best advice by Elon Musk, that they said, don't even attach yourself, a person, a place, a company, an organization, or a project. Attach yourself to a mission, a calling, a purpose only. That's how you keep your power and your peace. It's worked for me all this far. So like,
there's a difference between a billionaire and me, right? He's able to articulate it a little bit better than I was.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. That to me is key.
You want to share a little story?
Yeah, I mean, I was really intrigued by Gonzalo's story, because I had a similar story, not relative to an email, even though I do got an email story. A similar story, but a different result. So I graduated relatively young from college. I graduated at age 20. I went and I started my first career. I moved out of the state, out of Florida, to go live in Minnesota, which I didn't even know where it was until I looked it up in a map and they hired me, right? So I went up there, and I would say after about a year and a half in, I started to get comfortable with things. I was doing things to really add value to the organization. I was an accountant, so it was a relatively new business within the organization. So I was, I was doing a lot of things that a lot of people didn't do. And because it was such a small little group, I was talking always to the head guy. Okay. And now you got to put yourself back into the late 90s. Or mid 90s if you're a non. And in the finance industry, it was honestly very Wolf of Wall Street type of mentality, right? So it was the going to the strip club for business programs, like for business, doing business planning and all that kind of stuff during that time. I luckily didn't see that, right? But it's still in the office. It was very much of like, if you were an accountant like I was and you were talking to the front office, we're different classes of people, and therefore we shouldn't be talking more than 2 minutes, right? It was that type of mentality. So here I am now going, and I'm the only one that has the are you allowed to say bad words here online or no?
Just say beep.
Beep. I was the only one with beep to be able to go speak to share things with the president of our group, and I would go there and I would give him stuff, and he'd always yell at me, beep, 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 this beeping not very good, blah, 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 beep, beep, go beep, beep, do it yourself again, blah, blah, blah. So I would go do that, and that's fine. I'd smile and take it. And then I would say after about 2 times that I took it, you know, and he asked me to change a couple of things, and then I went back and I brought those exact changes the way he wanted, but then I don't know, I misbolded something or whatever, right? And then he goes off to me and he does the beep beep, and I was like, well, if you would beep beep make, you know, your freaking mind up, you know, we wouldn't be in this situation. And again, I'm 22 years old, so, and I'm not from a military family, okay? We're from a family of doctors, right? So I'm not necessarily have that backbone, right, that Gonzalo's family has or was raised with. I was the peacemaker, but I had enough to be, I didn't want to take that anymore, right? So I talked back. And needless to say, that gentleman a year later hired me to go into the front office, really change the trajectory of my career. And he retired 10 years ago. Ironically, 5 years later, I left the company, right, because he wasn't there anymore. And in 2 weeks, I'll be going to his house and staying over the weekend to play golf in Arizona, right? So sometimes you do need to stand up for yourself, you know, and because in a lot of cases, it gives the other person, hey, this is a real person. We can't talk to them that way. He or she has got a strong background, you know, and now we respect them, right? Yeah. And that worked out well for me. So,
well, so it's a you know, great lesson, and standing up for yourself is absolutely something you should do. The thing is how you do it, right? How you do it.
And back then in 1998, you know, it was and I'm setting the framework, right? In a Wolf of Wall Street type of area, when one boss says that to you, I was able to say that back to him. I'm not sure you could do the same in 2021, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
FYI.
Excellent. Well, we heard Nalisa's story. I want to hear Rosa Maria. Rosa Maria, you know, Hassan and I, I've been friends for more than 25 years, and I know a lot of her stories were incredible, and she taught me a lot of things, you know, from looking at a woman executive perspective, right? It's always good to have, he said it, right? In the 90s, this was a male-driven industry, right? And when I met Rosa Maria, I got, you know, we respected each other always, and I learned a lot of perspectives from the other side. That's where I said, you know what, some things are not right? That's when I started looking at the mirror and saying some things are not right. So Rosa Maria, go ahead.
Well, as a woman, I started working in the late 80s, early 90s, when you were supposed to sit pretty and not talk and serve coffee and pass papers around, but I was never that type, and never anyone told me that I had to be that way. So I've always been outspoken and said the things the way I thought they were. Most of the time it will create discomfort. They will say, you're not a team player, but I'm not a team player when you're playing to lose or when you're cheating. So one of my latest horror stories, I was going to tell a different one, but this one is more meaningful. I was the head of international financial institutions. And one of the guys in my team comes and, do you want to look at this transaction? Because I always worked very close with compliance, and we were considered the gatekeepers because we will not let anything pass. And then he tells me, well, you know, the head of trade, the head of trade is trying to force us to take this transaction, and it doesn't feel fine with me. And then I said, okay, tell them no. And things start escalating throughout the day, and then I get a call from this guy, and he tells me, well, if the mention of this country in the DOFL is what is bothering you, why don't you erase it? I was like, you're the head of trade. How can you be telling me this? Then instantly, he said that to me in a WhatsApp, in a chat, so I took a picture. I added it to a message, and that's why it's very important that you always document. You know, when Gonzalo was mentioning his story, many times I send fire emails on my own, and then I will own it. But if somebody asks me to send an email, I will say, according to the instructions of this and this and that. Never put on writing something that is not your words or that you don't believe in. or sometimes I will say, against my best belief, we are going to do that, this and this and this and that. Never be afraid to make it clear your position if you know you are doing right. And nobody should be able to shame you or do anything for saying the truth. If you have a point of view and you think you can defend it, always stand by it. So this guy sent me this, and then the head of the commercial banking, the head of corporate banking, everybody comes and tells me, why are you being so difficult? Well, because this is a crime. But this is a very good business. No, this is a crime, and I'm not going to go ahead with that. So at the end, this guy and I reported to the same head in Spain. So I got about the time they wake up in Spain, I got a call from my boss in Spain telling me, what are you doing? Why are you being so? When I explained him, not in writing because I didn't want to do it that way, because then they will have legal action against this person. Just to meet their budgets, they are asking me to do something that I cannot do because I know it's illegal. And in compliance, if you know and you go around the law, it's illegal and you are an accomplice. So I told him, and there's no way I'm going to do it. If you want to fire me, but just put in writing why you are firing me. He said, no, I didn't know, blah, 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 blah. So this guy never came back to my place to give orders. He took me twice for lunch just to smooth things out. He never insisted on the transaction again. And my bosses in Spain told me, well, you were really, they were glad that I had stood for the things that I thought were right. Local compliance knew, but they couldn't fire him because, the policy in corporations is like, you should have come to us. You should have, why come to you? If I know it's wrong, I'm not going to do it. So Batman. Many times you're going to be asked to be the one who goes a little outside or gives the little round to make someone else's life and responsibility lighter. Don't feel forced to do it. If there's anything to report, right now it's so much better because there are the mailboxes where you can send information, where you can report people, when you can report everything. And it was like 3 years ago. So never feel or never fear somebody telling you should do this if you know that thing is not right. And the thing was that they were putting a lot of pressure on my team to make this transaction and not to tell me, because I used to be the wicked witch of the West. And I will always, whenever I said no, people knew it was no. And when, there were people who will ask me, if I said yes, we will do it. If I said no, we wouldn't do it. Because they knew I was never going to do something that was outside. Of course, if somebody made something wrong, you try to help them. But then you tell them, well, you did this and this and this and that right. But this was like a power play that somebody was trying to say, well, you're the only one in the committee, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so you're the only stupid? We were in equal terms. But he couldn't. And then my boss tried to intimidate me. You shouldn't be saying those things. Hey, what's illegal is illegal. And altering a document is illegal. So that's a real horror story. And this guy still works for the bank. I left a couple of years ago because I pre-retired. But I think it also taught a big lesson to the people in my team that, you have to start. In international business, it's very, very easy to try to go around and do things that are not okay. But I remember back in the 80s, I was the people who answered the phone on the Casablanca operation. That was the first money laundering stint that happened in the early 80s. And I was the only person at the bank at that moment, and I handled it. So I had been very much aware of the importance of that to a financial institution. And your fiduciary duty is with the company that you're working, not to allow anything wrong to happen. Not that you let them stand on you, that's something different, but you have to guard your company as it's your own, but not over yourself. And it's a little complicated, but you have to always be impeccable in what you do, so that nobody can say that you took a clip or a pencil. Although sometimes you put them in your pockets and you bring them home. But it's like that, never let anybody, whoever the name is, to put pressure on you. Sometimes I got, I'm a friend of the president of the bank. Oh, okay. Well, when he calls me and tells me you're his friend, I will see what I can do for you.
Interesting. Yeah, so many good lessons to draw from Rosa Maria. Particularly, that's why we're friends, right? Because we think very alike. I am one to, the advice that I give to people, particularly young people starting, is there's gonna be so many gray areas, right? So many gray areas when it comes to relationships of all types, right? With your bosses, with your co-workers, right? And what I learned with time is that whenever there's a gray area, you shine a light, right? You shine a light and make it less dark. Because if you don't shine the light, it'll immediately start turning dark and darker and darker. And then there's going to be a point where somebody is going to get fired, somebody's going to go to jail, right? Or somebody's going to lose their relationship. It's just horrendous. Whenever there's a gray area, always shine some light, right? Light, and if you cannot, if it's too dark, then you have to be the light and shine the light somewhere else. So I know, Ignacio, we have a couple of more minutes. We'll extend a couple of more minutes just because we didn't have time for Q&A. But I know, Ignacio, you wanted to share a story, and then we'll go back to a little Q&A for those that want to stay. So Iggy, what you got?
Sure. So I've worked in a lot of different roles, both in I've had some experiences similar to what the ones that were described there in finance. I've been in marketing, I've been in sales, and there is one common theme, and I'm going to share a story about my first job when I finished my MBA. I went to go work a little company you've heard about maybe called Frito-Lay, and it was a great job. I mean, it was a leadership role. I had a team. Everything looked amazing. The people that interviewed me, they seemed amazing. Everything was really cool. The one piece that was missing out of that entire pie was actually meeting my coworkers, and that was kind of the horror story of it. So I interviewed with somebody who wasn't my boss. The person that gave me the job wasn't the person that ultimately was my boss. I went to work for the team of people I didn't know, and I could tell you from the first week that I was there, I said, I don't like this environment. It was a group of people I didn't get along with, didn't have a lot in common with them. They didn't make me feel comfortable, and it progressed. At this point I had moved to Tampa, and I had rented an apartment, the whole thing. So I had just moved there. I had a roommate that moved with me. So we both got jobs in Tampa, so it made sense. We both moved there after college. So I was responsible, for half the rent, and so it was important. I couldn't just leave, right? But it got progressively worse, and I ended up leaving. And I guess the big lesson, and one of the things that's probably the hardest thing to realize as a professional, is you can only get so far if your boss doesn't appreciate what you do. Right? It doesn't matter the size. You always think, oh, it's a big company. I could always apply to another department. Well, when you go to apply to another department, they call your boss. And that's always a difficult, because they called me, and I've called others the same way. That's a life lesson. So in that scenario, I didn't really get along with this person because I had never met them before. I didn't really get along with my coworkers.
and I thought it was me. I said, well, this must be what corporate America's like, that people just don't get along, and you get a boss, and you don't get along with them, I guess. And it it got progressively worse, and I think the lesson there is I never took a job without meeting my coworkers, and I made a point of actually going to the office when I interviewed for a job. So I want to see the dynamics of the office, because you get a lot of body language from being in the office, right? When you go to that interview and you're walking into the conference room and people won't even look at you, or you can feel the ambiance of the culture, and that's something you can control, right? You can take the job or not take the job, and that's it's probably a really important life lesson, right? So wherever you think you're going to be successful, you got to make sure you start with a very good relationship with your current boss, and if you know that person's boss, even better, right? So you have a good relationship with them and their boss, and if you feel like that's changed, that's when you need to start looking for a job, because the difference between getting fired and leaving is timing, right? And I know that sounds like so obvious, but I tell people this all the time, and they never really put it to practice, right? I've heard many stories. Oh, it's been terrible for 2 years. I can't believe this is happening. And I go, if you stay there long enough, they're going to fire you. But if you leave, you didn't get fired. So there's that. That's really the. It just seems like such an obvious point, but most people don't take it to heart. But the workforce is about relationships. The one thing that you can't do is have bad relationships with people. You want to stay at a job for a long period of time, you have to build it and foster your relationships. The most important one is the boss. Yeah. If you don't have a relationship with your boss, they don't appreciate what you do. You could have the easiest job, or you could have a very difficult job. And I've been in those compliance positions as well. I'm actually in one right now with data governance. It's hard if you don't have a good relationship with your boss, and you don't have a good process for when you have to deliver bad news, kind of go through that process of communicating to boss. Hey, look, we found these findings. We're gonna go across, and we're gonna do this. How do I deliver it? All that. You need the backing of your boss. So having a good relationship with your team and your bosses is probably the way you minimize workplace horror stories.
100%. Building healthier. If you can't move up in the company, that's really, really important. I think what you said, especially now, because everybody is getting everything digitally, not like human relationships. But how can you collaborate if you don't understand how to work with one another, and if you don't communicate over it? It's really so much about the organizational culture and the environment, because I've seen so many people burn out, and it's so sad. You have amazing jobs in these companies, and then they're ruined. They're all corporate culture is the same, and they hate corporate. It's the mentality, but
right.
I actually end.
Can I give one more tip, and then I'll promise I'll be quiet. So one additional tip, and I think you brought up something, Melissa, that I think is important, because we don't get to see people's facial expressions. Some people don't put on their cameras. One of the tips that I kind of learned over the years is that even if somebody's angry at you, if you write down and you remember what they told you, and you say it back to them the next time you met, you say, hey, I know last time we met you were pretty upset about the fact that we didn't do this, or we couldn't accommodate for that. Just remembering what they said and saying it back to them, and honestly trying to resolve it. Oh my God, that goes such a long way. You have no, nobody listens to anybody anymore. Nobody takes notes. It's like an epidemic. But if you're conscious about taking good notes and listening to people, you'd be. I have made more friends and built better relationships just doing that one thing than anything else I've done. Well, so listening to people and telling them, hey, I know last time we met, this is what we talked about. You'd be surprised how far you can get. Try it one time.
By the way,
with the most difficult person that you interact with.
by the way, one of the things that people forget, right, is again, we're ending the same way that we started. Sometimes we fall in love with the brands and the companies, and it's all about the people, right? But what I care to share today is in horror, right? Like in this case, is where we learn the most. Number one, and number two, where we solidify our relationships, right? How many times have we been in difficult situations, and because we work them out together? It's like everything. It's like if you want to go to the movies and I want to go to the bar, right? And I don't give in, you don't give in. We're never gonna get in the middle and have a relationship. Relationship is about giving back. Stepping back and sacrificing. Like today for Humberto, tomorrow. Same thing. We've worked on I don't know how many transactions together. Sometimes, Humberto, no, bro, I can't do it, and it's been tough because I want to do it, and he said, no, we can't do it. It doesn't matter. At the end, we learn from each other. We know the limits. We're not gonna cross the limit to damage the relationship, because the relationship is more important than anything, right? Rosa Maria knows how many years we tried to do business. Sometimes she tells me yes, sometimes she tells me no. But you know what? If I insist and she says no, and I keep insisting, I damage the relationship. And I don't want to damage the relationship, because for me, the relationship is more important. That's why we've been friends for so long, right?
Yeah, people are more important than deals, always.
Because you're not EIA Global, you are a non-Mayol. You're not, you're Humberto Humoron. You're your person, right? You, even though you're representing your organization, and therefore you do share some values generally, you're still you. And the reality is that, and not how many jobs and how many organizations you work with? 5? 6? Six, right? So that's okay, right? Because Hernan, I worked with Hernan when he was at Union Planters. I worked with him when he was at Wells Fargo, at Bank of America. For like 6 weeks he worked at Banesco. Banesco, and now Iago, right? So but that's okay though, because it's the relationship, right? And that's very, very important.
By the way,
that's not a horror story.
I laugh because he says it, and out of those 6-7 places that I worked, I've had like 4 or 5 horrible stories. It's not that I go there to leave, right? It's just it's things happen. Like how did I know that Wells Fargo was going to have the accounts issue and they were going to let go of the people at Global Advisory? How did I know? How did I know that when I started in Banesco, the guy from Venezuela, the president of Venezuela, gets brought to Miami, brings his buddy, and fires me because there wasn't any budget anymore? How did I know all this stuff? I don't have a crystal ball. But you know what? Every time that I cry, I know who to call. I call you guys.
Go to have breakfast somewhere.
Dale, Narisa. We got to go because they're kicking us out of this conference room.
Really, really fast. I just wanted to share something that I really learned in all of my experiences. Never speak ill of anyone, ever. It doesn't matter. You're going to always maintain those relationships for the future. And from this whole thing, always be transparent about everything from the beginning. Make it public, like Hernan said, and just do the right thing. I think what Vale said, which was really, really important. Rosa. Right? I saw that, but then I saw the name underneath your Zoom thing.
It's my daughter's name.
Okay, it's your daughter. Okay, well, specifically is that you're setting an example and you're setting a precedent for everybody that is you, your culture, your family, everything that you represent. So your word is your currency, and we have to do the right thing. At the end of the day, you're always going to be safe if you do the right thing, be honest, and maintain relationships, right?
But Nalisa, it's always healthy to find somebody you can bitch with about. See,
I try not to say any bad words, and she says it.
Big gossip for you.
You have to be in Mexico to say bad words.
Oye, let me tell you, this is why we have this network. I hope that you understand that the mentors in this program are all my best friends. Like I have a bunch of people tell me, "Oh, my best friend." The reality is they're all spectacular people that I gathered throughout life. I hope that all of you can find so many nice people to spend your life with, and then that these people, you know, this Zoom ends. We're not speakers in an event, right? We are here for you, right? If we sign up for this as mentors, it's because we believe in helping the next generation. Why? Because let me explain to you. Look at me. I was in the same shoes that you were when you started in your career. I did not know what to do. I did not know who to talk to. I didn't have any mentors, right? I made so many mistakes, and I want to share a little bit. But don't be afraid to make your own mistakes. Just know that you have somebody, right? That if you make a mistake, coño, you know what? I made a mistake. And then you pick yourself up. Next, right? That's what I tell Nalisa. Nalisa, every time she gets upset, I tell her, okay, brush yourself up, pick up yourself, and continue the next thing. We don't have time for sob stories because you're a leader, right? Don't waste your talent drowning it in tears. Use your energy and what you learn and share it with the next generation and continue, right? Next, right?
And leaders are human, right? At the end of the day, leaders are human. So it's normal to experience all of this. It's emotional intelligence. It takes some time, but it's so much easier with people. So it's not just book smarts, it's really street smarts, and that's like the relationships. Thank you, Hernan, for making it possible for us to feel like humans again.
If you get fired, right? This is the only team. Apprentice is the only team that no matter where you will get fired, your team continues with you. You transfer it around, right? Which is the beauty of putting this little logo, right? In your mi casa tu casa, no? Come to the casa, cry, and then go out in the world and do what you do best, you know?
Don't worry about what you can't control. That'll stop the gray hairs.
That's right. Guys, I love you guys. Be good. Thank you for sharing. We're going to do this again next week, but next week is going to be a harder topic. Not horror stories, heartfelt stories about if we deal with it, right? And to others that are dealing with it, okay? And this is Monica Onisek, who's one of the mentors, who both her sister and her mother suffered from cancer. And their stories, I don't want to give it up, but she has to deal with it, and she's still here to share. She's going to share her advice with people, okay? And I lost my mother-in-law from pancreatic cancer in 3 days, right? So I have a heart for that. Andy, which is one of the associates now a mentor, suffered from testicular cancer, and he's giving his life to medicine. He's one of our young adults, young professionals, and also every time like Alex with giving her toys, he has a foundation that gives toys to kids with cancer. So we're gonna listen to their story. And by the way, I'm gonna share a link. The proceeds of the T-shirt that we're going to sell are gonna be for cancer research, La Liga contra el Cáncer, and I'll share that link so we can get our shirts are nice and pink. It says Apprentice Cares and it says Punch Out Cancer. So I'll share with you the link. You'll love it, and then we'll all get together and wear it in support of all these people. Any questions? Cheap shots. Yeah, the guys here are firing. We're leaving. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Me voy.
Great story.
Bye, good night, everyone. Bye.
83 minutes.